You said at the beginning of the call that a belief is a thought that you believe to be true that there's not much evidence for. And then when Sarah said, why do we go after shiny objects? I'm paraphrasing. And you said, because there's still a belief in the body mind. So then I thought, how do you, through purification, calms the mind? Because there's this, it seems to me then we kind of have to prove to ourselves this lie. I call it a lie, but this lie.
Yes.
And
the lie that I'm the body mind, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, exactly correct.
And because I don't know, I'm just putting it all together because that's what I thought. I was like, oh, there's that ultimate.
That's correct. You need the evidence.
Need the evidence.
Yes.
Mm.
And when you go within and ask, who am I? You discover what you are and what you are not. And then the false, the ignorance disappears because it's not real. It never really was.
Would it be a true? I love that because it just clicked. But I had this situation yesterday where the situation itself is, I don't want to bore you with the story, but in the middle of this conversation that this person was willing to have with me, I was like, I'm hurt, but I don't know why I hurt. And then it just kind of arose in me, who's hurt? Like, who's hurting here? Like, I wanted to honor the hurt, let it pass through and not focus on it. But I recognize that this reaching out to find people, I call them find people to get on my Ferris wheel, is kind of like preserving the self. Like I was in the false self, the preservation of the false self. So at the end I go, oh wait, because she studies with me, and I was like, oh, this whole thing was just simple false self-preservation. And you talked about that, and it made me realize that every shiny object that we're after, is this a false self-preservation?
Yes, it's all EPS.
Yes. So when you said that, that's funny because every question on a row somebody asked it, and so I thought, oh, that's so interesting. I yesterday I just had to sit with that because I recognize all the ways in which that happens in my particular life.
Well, if you can start to recognize specifically how it happens, and then you go back to the general ways it happens, and you realize the most general way it happens is by attending to objects. That's why his teaching is so radical. And this goes right back to what Jimmy's point was right at the beginning. I think you heard it, which was Jimmy said that it's about, or maybe you didn't hear it, was about this, the reason self-inquiry is important, it goes towards a subject, whereas other things go towards objects. When you go towards objects, you're feeding the ego. When you go towards the subject, you're starving the ego. When you go towards objects, it's EPS. You get lost. When you go towards a self, it's GPS. You find your way.
It's kind of funny. I don't know. Thank you.
So, the evidence, you see. We think the reason ego is so strong is that it's utterly, totally convinced it is the body mind. Totally convinced. That, let's say there are two possible scenarios. One is that you're the body mind. Another is that you're something else. Now, if we look at the evidence objectively, if we look at the evidence impartially, let's use that word, it's a bit easier in this context, isn't it? If we look at the evidence impartially, objectively, impartially, we will see that both of these are possibilities. One possibility is that we're the body mind. Another possibility is that maybe this is a simulation, or we are consciousness, or something else. And we don't know which of these is true. So if we were impartial and objective, like a scientist, we would explore which one of these two is true, right? But we don't do that. We grab onto one of them. We've no choice in this. Ignorance has been thrust upon us. And we wholly believe with everything, with all of our might, almost all of our might, that we are the body-mind. And we buy into it and we act every day as if we're the body-mind. And we listen to our thoughts and believe them, and we think that they're our thoughts. And we think we're a person living in a world. And when you investigate this, when you inquire into this, which is self-inquiry, self-investigation, when you inquire, what am I actually? I've assumed I'm a body-mind. This is false knowledge. The guru tells us. The teaching tells us. The guiding light of the Shastra, Shastra means scriptures. The guiding light of the Shastras tells us this is an illusion. Investigate for yourself. Discover for yourself. You discover you realize that you are still here. This is why you know you're not in the body-mind. You discover you are still here when there is no body and no mind. You still are shining. Now, every night when we go to sleep, that happens. We still exist, and the body and mind disappear. But the problem is it happens when we're asleep. But if you can do that in the waking state, when awake, you provide yourself with the evidence that, and you ask yourself, who am I? You're trying to discover who you are, what you are. You discover, no, it's impossible to put this fully in words, by the way. But when I say you discover, it's not, that implies it's the body-mind discovering. It's not the body-mind discovering. There's a discovery. That's not a discovery. It's just a falling away of the false identity. It's somehow revealed that you are still there. There's no freaking body. There's no freaking mind. And yet you're there. And it becomes obvious that that is an illusory identity. You get the evidence you've been looking for. You cannot get that evidence from objects, from the world. So when Gordon was looking for his golden nugget, golden spiritual nugget that will make him happy, and he could hold this golden nugget aloft and go, yeah, I've found my golden nugget of wisdom, which is what we all do. I'm not poking fun at Gordon specifically. I'm poking fun at all of us, including myself. I was doing this for many years, trying to turn the page of every book, looking for that golden nugget, which would be in the next page or in the next book or whatever, because I was reading books, doing my practice, trying to find the next golden nugget, following the recipe, following the prescription, trying to find my next golden nugget, trying to find the pearl of wisdom that will liberate me as a body-mind. But when you go within, away from objects, then you discover, with the intent to discover what you are. You have to want to know what you are. Identity. Then this gives you the evidence and it destroys the belief I'm the body-mind. But as long as you're attending to objects and you think you're a body-mind, discovering something, oh, I, Tracy, have figured something out, oh, I, Tom, have figured something out, you're just perpetuating a false identity. It's an ego preservation strategy. It's a false identity preservation strategy.